Welcome back to the programme. The great Dr. Robin Falkov is with me. I'm going to get to your question straight away. Before I do that, he says, contradicting himself, just let me remind you, as I reach for the diary. Yeah, there you go. You know it's live. Reaching for the diary. John McAfee joins the programme tomorrow night, running for president for the Libertarian Party. And Ellen Brown will be on to talk about World Without Money and much more. She'll be on the programme tomorrow as well. But right now, importantly, Dr. Robin Falkov is on the show. Thanks for staying with us, Robin. We've got some really important questions, and I mean it. I'm not just saying this. These are important. First of all, Sean McDonald wants to ask about the mosquitoes, the genetically modified mosquitoes that they're talking about. Well, we should release these genetically modified mosquitoes, and they'll attack the bad mosquitoes in Brazil, and they'll, get rid of all this virus and all of that. Do you have any views on that? I mean, that's a difficult one to get into, really. I don't know much about that. I would have grave suspicions about it. What do you think, then, before we get to vaccinations again? What about the mozzies, the mosquitoes?
Okay, I think that this is a major problem. You have the genetically modified mosquitoes. We have robo bees developed by Monsanto, which ties into something I said years ago, which Richard ignored me, George Noria ignored me, everybody thought I was crazy, but I said, follow the money.
Richard didn't agree with you, did he?
No, who's going to be pollinating the plants so that we still have our food if there are no more bees?
Nothing.
And so Monsanto has robo bees. So these genetically modified bees are supposed to, mosquitoes are supposed to mix in and sterilize the rest of the population. I am not a big fan of this because they don't know exactly how far it will go. But I want to give your audience the answer, the name that I mentioned before with proxy in the middle. And they're saying that, is it this insecticide, pyriproxyfen, that's behind microcephaly?
Yeah.
And just as you said, because you're right on top of everything, they hide it in plain sight.
It's staggering sometimes. Coming to terms with some of what's going on and being allowed to go on. I mean, from now on, it's Mon Satan, by the way.
I like that.
Yeah, it's a lot better, isn't it? And what a horrendously awful company. Sean, thanks for the question. Claire has just tweeted in. Now, Claire is a friend of mine who's just begun to help producing the Richie Allen radio show. Very, very smart woman, educated woman who's right up on a lot of these issues. Asks this question. This is serious. Claire's just had a child. He is 3 weeks old and he's scheduled for the 5-in-1 when he's 8 weeks. My other children had the 3-in-1 at that age. Claire said, no way am I letting him have it. She's not going to give the 5-in-1 to the boy. I presume you obviously agree with that and you support her decision not to do that. You're entitled, by the way, as a physician, as a doctor, to say that. I'm not. I can't be saying that to anybody. But you think she's making a good decision not to give him the injection?
Well, I made the statement in the previous part of the show, Richie, that nothing should be lumped together. If somebody really thinks that they're buying into the need for vaccines, let them break it down, get one at a time, and spread it out, every month, and make sure that there is no sign of any other illness, fever, condition that is stressing the immune system, because the vaccine itself will be a very heavy load. So I'm not a fan for myself, but she needs to do her research, because no parent can responsibly have someone else tell them what to do. They have to live with it for the rest of their lives. So they better know the information, and it better be something that they are very secure with their decision.
That's brilliantly responsible, Robin. And I mentioned this at the end of the last segment. We had a lady on from Liverpool who was doing very well against stage 4 stomach cancer because she completely overhauled, radically changed her diet, and is doing very well, Natasha in Liverpool. And I said afterwards, because Natasha is getting the chemo, as well as taking her own steps to completely change her diet and eat natural foods and alkaline foods and get rid of processed food out of her diet and all of that. Some of our listeners, she shouldn't be having the chemo. I say, listen. Exactly what you said, echo what you say. These are decisions you have to live with for the rest of your life. So you make an informed decision by listening to all the evidence that's out there, not just mainstream science or mainstream pharma. Listen to people like Robin Falkov. Listen to people like Dr. Rima Labo. There's so many people out there, who've been through the other side of it and who've come out. Andy Wakefield, who was on this programme last year. Listen to these people as well, but make your own mind up. David says this on Twitter, David Kona. It is shocking that Big Pharma synthesises natural products so that they can be patented. And of course, he means Monsanto. Again, I refer you to interviews I've done on this programme with Vandana Shiva of Navdanya in India. How did we let them away with that, Robin? Synthesising natural, earth-born things, then patenting them, and then flooding the world with them, while at the same time they destroy the natural, the real elements that they have copied and patented. What a scenario.
They've done this for years, going to indigenous populations and looking to work with their medicine men or the shamans and find out what they're doing. They do the research on the products, and if they can patent it, then you might hear about it. But what happened with graviola, also known as guanabana or soursop, which is a very potent fighter of immune-compromised conditions from cancer and so many others, but there are certain warnings that you have to follow with its use. The pharmaceutical company that did the research in the early 1990s could not patent this. So the information got buried until, I'm trying to remember the woman's name of Leslie something, she's a naturopath, of Raintree Forest Herbs. And she has a wonderful database at Raintree Forest Herbs where she has all the graviola information. And living in South Florida, you can find graviola trees. You can eat the fruit, you can make the tea, the fruit is delicious, but as I said, there are some warnings. And you got to be careful because I find a lot of irresponsibility where they talk about these things and they're not mentioning this is something you have to cycle off from after 30 days because it will upset the delicate balance of the good bacteria in your gut. And our gut it's like a second brain for the body, where all this nutrient absorption takes place, all of these beneficial abilities of that bacteria to change and let the body utilize these amazing benefits, but then you have to give it a chance to repopulate. And there are things like vitamin C that you cannot take along with it because it inactivates it. So think of so many people that don't have someone who's thorough and they think they're doing something great. And all I think is I'm praying that placebo effect will be so strong for them because otherwise they're throwing away their money.
And it's dangerous. I say this to people all the time. People are sharing articles on Facebook all the time. And by doing it, they are validating them. They are saying, I've taken this information. I like the headline and I'm sharing it on and I'm doing some good. No, you are not. It is dangerous, particularly around medicine, whether it's natural medicine, naturopathic medicine or not. It's dangerous to be doing that and behaving like that. Chris says on Twitter, a vaccine only needs to be around 20% effective to get onto the market. Meningitis B vaccine hasn't been tested on under 10-year-olds. That's absolutely right. Wayne was on to say he agrees with the genocide agenda. Yes, how fast we are changing our bodies and the makeup and the fabric of who we are. Look at the US. Look at the shape of bodies because people cannot excrete what is in them. And he's referring to the obesity epidemic, which used to be unique, or at least people used to think it was unique to the United States. It ain't. Look around you. If you're listening to this in England, look around you. If you're listening to it in Ireland, look around you. And don't be looking at people in that way to make them feel uncomfortable. The crap that we are ingesting into our bodies and the crap that we are ingesting without our knowledge is what's contributing to the obesity epidemic, in my opinion. Loads of tweets. Charlie was on to say, Charlie O'Malley. There you go. Doesn't get any more Irish than that, eh? I can almost hear the music, Robin. I can almost hear the harp. Charlie says, how can one be sure a flu jab was the reason for not getting the flu? I didn't get the flu and I didn't have the jab. And that's brilliant, isn't it? You need to have faith to believe in vaccines. It's like believing in God. You must have faith in it. We don't know.
Yeah, to expose yourself, and then for what the results are, you don't know, but you got to turn it around. How many people who've gotten the vaccine have been shedding live virus, which they're given when they use the nasal spray, or how many people who've been vaccinated have caught the flu. That is the population that gets sick and catches these diseases. How they keep marketing it, it blows me away. The statistics for last year's flu virus, what was it? There it was like 20%, 30% effective.
Absolutely.
And they still wanted to give it.
And I guess it's the same in the United States as it is here. When you walk into the supermarkets here, the supermarkets are now saying that they'll give it to you. If you pay £5, you can schedule your flu vaccination in your supermarket. It's absolutely staggering. And in our local general practitioner surgery, which I haven't been to for a long time, but last winter I remember going in and you couldn't walk into the bathroom for all of the signs, all the A4 printouts that they did about you have to have the flu vaccine, you have to have the flu vaccine. And I was diagnosed with asthma years ago. I have a salbutamol inhaler, but I very rarely use it. I have them for months on end. And I've never smoked or anything like that. So I have the inhaler. So they ring me up recently to say, oh, you need to come in to talk to the nurse. So I say, why? I know what they're going to say. Oh, we need to talk to you about your inhaler medication, about prescribing it. And they always do this because I don't get very many. I get maybe 3 a year maybe. So I'm like, right. And you really should have the flu jab. You really should have the flu jab. You're in that category of people that is susceptible. You should have the flu jab. And I just politely say, well, thanks very much. I'm 41. I'm a big old lump. I'm healthy. I eat reasonably well. I don't drink very much alcohol at all. I'll take my chances without the flu jab. But it's incredible. It's all encompassing. It's everywhere you go, Robin. Everywhere.
Yeah, and that's the whole idea, because how could there be anything wrong with it if it's in your supermarket, if it's on the magazines, on the sides of buses, every place you go? I'm sending you a link. I think it's Buteco or Butenko Method for Asthma. And interestingly, I found out about this doing a class, a really high-intensity training class with this guy, Pavel Tsatsulin, who works with special forces and Spetsnaz and police forces. And anyhow, he talked about this method of asthma fighting, strengthening the body. And I had a couple of patients that tried it, and it blows me away. They said, yeah, it did work, but it was a lot of work. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
Too much work.
Here's the question for you. Here's the question.
Go ahead.
Because we didn't really get much of a chance to talk about the election, but we'll do that in plenty of time. We've plenty of time between now and November. But here's an election-relevant question. And I guess some of our listeners probably would have been disappointed if I didn't bring this up. What is it like for somebody like you, a practitioner, somebody who's educated herself and has been educated in practicing medicine, and you've gone into naturopathic medicine, you do great work on healthfreedomrights.com. You see the debates, right? So you get all these Democratic debates, the Republican debates. Has there ever... Nothing is more important to us as sentient sovereign beings than our food and then our environment and how that impacts on us physically and spiritually. Have you ever in your time, and you're not old, of course, you're not old by any stretch of the imagination, but has anybody ever asked a health-related question at any of these debates? And of course, I don't mean the standard stupid question whether you're for universal health care or anything like that, but I mean a real question about where we source our food and how our food is past fit for consumption or not. Has anybody ever on the presidential trail ever gotten into that?
Yes.
Who?
One very special man, the only man who brought it up, the only man who even cited an example of vaccine problems for a child because it was a friend of the family, and who talked about why this needs to be looked into. And that, of course, is Donald Trump. And as I shared with you on Monday, was it just Monday that you were on with me, Richie?
Was it this week? It was this week.
I guess, yeah.
It's this week.
It's going so fast. But I made a point with you, and if this is proven with that link that I sent you, which you watch it at some point and you'll see, because it's a different Donald Trump there. Donald Trump, when I don't even think he was asked, I think he brought it up as something else that needs to be changed, because this is the future, this is the next generation, and this is something that is being shown to be harmful for children, and it must be addressed, the problems with vaccines. So he brings things up that have a big history. He'll touch on them, and then everybody says, oh, he's extreme, he's irresponsible, he's irrational. Just as the big outcry came with him talking about needing to do more than waterboarding.
Yeah.
And
why did he say that, Dora? I mean, you know what I think about Trump. You know that I think that the democratic process is a nonsense anyway. And I can't stand them. I can't stand any of them, and that includes, Bernie Sanders. Although, there are things that Sanders has said that I really agree with. I think there's a bit of compassion there, but of course he's wrong on global warming. It's the same with Jeremy Corbyn. But ultimately they are produced by the system and served up to us to choose from. And I'm not going to bore you. You're the guest now, not me. So I'm not going to, try and dominate that. But, I can't stand them. And I would say a broken clock is right twice a day. And that might be the case with Trump. But why would he say something like that, Robin? I would do worse.
I have the
than
answer,
that.
Richie, and I gave it to you the other time, and it's very clear. And because it's so important, I made the point of writing a whole little thing to post on Facebook about it. And if you watch that link that I sent, you will see a different, calmer Donald Trump, who's treated with respect by the people interviewing him. And the way he answers is very different. So what he is doing when he says that we need, more tools, we need something more powerful than waterboarding, I guarantee that the next thing that comes out at some point within the next month or two, because the time is pretty important to turn it in the favor of whichever candidate, will be what happened at Abu Ghraib, with the abuses from the soldiers to the prisoners there, the dogs that they inflicted on the people and allowed to do horrendous things, many other torture tactics that were used that are much worse than waterboarding.
Yeah.
And this is what Donald
Trump does. But he said he would do that, though.
Yes, but Richie, you're missing the whole point, like everyone else has, because you've been conditioned to dislike him and listen to all the propaganda. What he's doing...
Hang on now, I don't listen to propaganda. Now, that I will take issue with that, because I form my own opinions on this guy. And of course, as a journalist, I've known about him for a long time and where he's been and what he's done. And the sort of businessman he's been and stuff like that. My opinion of him is that he's repugnant and he's playing to a base, isn't he? In fact, do you know what I really believe? And I think I've said this to you before, and I know you disagree. I think that he's there and he's doing a very good job of basically throwing the election to Hillary Clinton.
I don't agree with you, and you're missing.
I respect your opinion. Yeah.
You're missing the forest because you're looking at the trees around you. And what he did, he's the only one who brought up the vaccine issue. He brought up the trade treaties, so suddenly others have come on board. What he's brought up about torture under the guise that he would have to do worse, suddenly you're going to see. I don't know where it's going to come from, but there are going to be stories leaked about the torture that has been ongoing, far worse than waterboarding.
Well, of course,
but he has opened the doorway for that information to come out. And it's a very wise, structured strategy.
I sincerely hope you're right. And I mean sincerely hope you're right, Robin. Like I said, we certainly differ on that and on him. But I do hope you're right on it. For today, anyway, we're just about out of time. Check out Robin at healthfreedomrights.com. And as I said, her outstanding programme, really fact-filled programme, full of terrific analysis, airs every Monday to Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. And you need only go to freedomslips.com. And Robin is usually squirreling away there in Studio A. And that's 3 p.m. UK time. And if you're listening to the programme in France or Spain, where a lot of people do listen, it's 4 p.m. Central European time. It's an outstanding listen. And I usually catch it 2 or 3 times a week, and I get a lot of ideas from it. A great pleasure, my friend, always to have you on. Thanks for that. Shame we didn't get to talk too much of the politics, but we will have plenty of time to do that in the coming weeks and months, I have no doubt.
Thank you, my friend. I have the utmost respect for you. You're one of the few responsible journalists that I can even mention, because you just do such an outstanding job. It's an honor to be with you.
Robin, thanks a lot. Give our regards to Richard as well, and keep reminding him that you told him stuff years ago that came true. Guys don't like that. Guys don't like that very much, and I know because I'm one of them. You're a legend. Thanks, Robin. Look after yourself and talk again soon.
My pleasure. You too, my friend. Thank you.
Bye now. The outstanding Dr. Robin Falkov on the line to us there from New Mexico.